welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. My name is Kim. I am a second year 4th grade teacher in West Michigan, and today I'm sitting down and doing a video all about behavior management. Now I'm hoping this can help somebody out there with something, but I just want to preface this whole video by saying I am in no way like the end-all be-all for behavior management. I have found success in my behavior management strategy for my room, but every classroom is different, every group of students is different, every year is different, and so I just want to say, like, these are just like the little pieces of advice I have based on like what I've done in my classroom. Please do not feel like this is the only way to do it, or like I am like the guru of behavior management, because that's just not it. I'm not saying this like you guys have to do everything that I do. I'm just saying what I do because I've gotten a lot of questions about it. So I have a hair in my mouth. Let's jump into it. So the first thing that I want to talk to you guys about is my school-wide behavior management system, and that is PBIS, which stands for Positive Behavior Intervention and Supports System, maybe? There's only one S, so maybe just Positive Behavior Intervention and Sports, I think. So basically what that means is we reward positive behavior. And so every week we choose one student per classroom who has demonstrated one of our 3 core values, one of our 3 R's as we call them, which are respectful, responsible, and ready to learn. So we choose one student from our class, they get a flyer, it's announced over the announcements on Fridays, they get to go down to the office and pick out a prize. And so that's what we do as a school. But I do something a little bit different in my actual classroom. So I still do go off that PBIS model. I obviously am doing those certificates on Fridays. And then I just go out of my way to point out anytime I see positive behavior. So literally all the time, like I always joke around that I'm my kid's hype man. I see something really awesome and I just make such a big deal about it. I'm super animated and super over the top. I'm sure you're not surprised. That's just who I am as a person. But I'll see one student doing something I like and I'll be like, did you guys see that? Did you guys see that? Oh my goodness. Susie just did such a good job sharing with her partner. She was on topic the whole time. She said some really great things. I could tell she was listening when I was teaching because woo, her math talk, unreal. Unreal. Susie, you are awesome. Give yourself a little pat on the back, Susie, and she'll do that. And so that's what I do in the classroom. I'm not usually rewarding with any kind of like actual item, like any tangible item, but I'm constantly rewarding with positive feedback. And I swear you guys, like it makes the biggest difference. Like all of a sudden, if my whole room, like a lot of people are chit-chatting, a lot of people are off topic, whatever, if I make a really big deal about Susie doing a good job, then guess what? Every other student wants to do a good job too. They want to be just like Susie. They want to get recognized. Even my kids who are really shy, who you think maybe wouldn't want to be called out in front of the class, they do, because we have such a good classroom community. We have such a positive relationship, and they want to be called out. They want to be noticed. So that is kind of my PBIS system. I'm going to talk a little bit more in just a second about another thing that I do in my room, but first I want to talk about relationships. I think relationships are the key to a great classroom. You need to know your students, you need to genuinely love your students and care about them, and you need to get to know them just on a personal level, get to know what interests them, what motivates them, etc., etc. So I get to know my students really well. I go to soccer games, I make phone calls home all the time, all that fun stuff. I really know my students. And I find that when you make learning engaging and exciting, there are a lot less misbehaviors. So if you're teaching, you know, in a way that makes them interested, maybe you're including things that interest them, making it related to some of their passions, some of their motivations, then the students are typically going to be on task because they're going to want to learn it. In addition to that, I feel like I'm just talking like a mile a minute, so I don't know if any of this makes sense. I apologize if it doesn't. In addition to all of that, the behavior management system of PBIS for school-wide supports, and then also relationships being really important, I use restorative practices in my classroom. So what that means is a lot of different things. So honestly, I could probably do an entire video just on restorative practices. So if you're interested in that, please let me know. But just as a little, like, I don't know, getting our feet wet in it today, I will let you know that I do think sheets, which what that means is I have these little papers. I got them off TPT. I'll try to remember to link mine below, but there's like hundreds of them, I'm sure, on TPT. And when I feel like a child needs to reflect on a behavior that they have done that maybe was not like the best choice, I ask them to fill out a think sheet. Now, I don't ask them in front of the class. I would never be like, Susie, you need to go get a think sheet right now. Think sheet time. Or I also wouldn't want to do, Susie, one more time of interrupting me and you're going to get a think sheet, because a think sheet is not a consequence. A think sheet is a place for reflection, and I just explain it to the students and I say, hey, there are some times where maybe I need to take a second to flesh out my thoughts, and so I'll actually grab think sheets sometimes and I'll write things down on it, and I'll talk about maybe times where I've needed a think sheet in my life. And so I just like really normalize it, and I say it's not a bad thing, it's not a consequence, it shouldn't be embarrassing. Like, we all need think sheets sometimes, because we all need to slow down and reflect on our behavior or our actions or our choices. So these think sheets just basically say like what happened, how did it affect others, how did it affect me, what can I do next time, and then what we'll do is we'll reflect on that think sheet and we'll talk about like what happened, what's going on, like walk me through your think sheet. And it just gives them kind of an opportunity to lead that conversation and say like, okay, this is what I did, this is how I was feeling, this is why I did it, and next time I'll do X, Y, and Z instead. Also, if it's something that needs to have a consequence, that's when we'll sit down and talk about a logical consequence, and the student will actually provide that consequence. So instead of me being like, you weren't listening and now you have to come in for recess or whatever, the student will sit down and say, I wasn't listening, so I think I need to maybe have a new spot in the classroom to sit where I'm not gonna get as distracted. Maybe I need a desk of my own for a little while, or maybe I need to write, you know, an apology note to my classmate who I disrupted, or whatever. They'll come up with a consequence that makes sense and that like fits the crime, if it will, or if you will. I don't take away recess, and that's just a personal choice that I've made. I also do not have anywhere in my classroom where you can look and see a child's like behavior for the day. So like, I don't do clip charts. I don't do even like a positive behavior, like individualized chart anywhere. I just don't do that. Like I said, I point out great behaviors all day long. I applaud them and I hype them up and I get them excited, but I just don't post it. I also don't do like dojo or anything like that then either. And I'm not saying those things are wrong and that you can't do those things. I just choose not to do them in my classroom. So that was my first little bit of restorative practices. Do the think sheets, talk about the consequences, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of that is showing that you're restoring the relationship. So like, who have I hurt in this situation? Well, if I've hurt my classmates, I need to apologize to my classmates. If I've hurt my teacher, I need to apologize to my teacher. If I've hurt myself, I need to own up to that and apologize to myself. So that's the restorative part of the think sheet. We also do restorative circles. So twice a week, well, at the beginning of the year, I do them every day, like at least once a day. And we just go around and we sit in a circle and we talk about like, would you rather do this or this? Like, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite movie? What's your favorite song? Like, what'd you do this summer? Like, whatever. Literally anything. There's like a million different topics. And I always try to give two options. So if they don't really relate to one topic, I'll give them a second one. So you can either talk about this or talk about this. Give each of the kids like a couple seconds. We passed around a talking piece. At the beginning of the year, we used a little sparkly microphone, and now I have my cue ball microphone, so we use that. But just a little talking piece, and we practice a ton of times. But basically, our eyes are on the speaker, our attention is on the speaker, our mind is on the speaker. And if you agree with somebody, you do a little like connection like this. If you need to give somebody a check-in near you, you just give them a little check-in. So they do a lot of like not self-regulating, but like peer regulating, I guess. I don't know. They do little like reminders like this. And we just talk about, you make eye contact with that person, give them a little check-in, and then your hand goes back in your lap. So it works really well. And really after a couple weeks, the kids totally had it down this past year. Did it really well. It was awesome. So we get really used to working in circles, and then I move on to doing circles for like math and for reading and stuff like that, and we'll share out like what we learned from the day, or I'll ask a problem and we'll go around and talk about how we would solve it, etc., etc. So anyways, I teach in circles a lot. I have the kids work in circles, these restorative circles, a lot, and so they get really comfortable with working in circles. So then what we can do is when there's a problem that affects the whole class, we do a restorative circle where we talk about what happened. Well, we had a substitute in the room and we kind of embarrassed ourselves, we were not very respectful, blah, blah, blah. We'll have some people share how that makes them feel. maybe some people share what they were thinking when they were doing those things, and then we come up as a class with a way to resolve that. Like, what do we need to do to make sure that doesn't happen again? What can we do as a consequence for the class that's gonna help make sure that this doesn't happen again? And how can we restore this relationship both with our classmates, with our teacher, but also maybe with the substitute? So those restorative circles, you guys, they make such a huge difference in my classroom. Also, what I do is, so that's my big, like, whole class restorative circle. I also will have small circles. So I will say, I facilitate this at the beginning of the year. So at the beginning of the year, maybe 2 kids are arguing at recess, okay? And they come in and it carries into the classroom and I can tell they're upset with each other. I'll pull them both back when the rest of the kids are doing independent work, and I'll say, hey, what's going on? Like, speak your truth, tell me your truth. And so they'll speak their truth, which just means like their side of the story, and they'll talk through it, and we'll come up with, you know, how can we restore this relationship? We talk about how we are all like a classroom family, and like sometimes you don't get along with your brothers or sisters at home, but they're still your family. And so having this like school family and this community makes a huge difference. So at the beginning of the year, I'm facilitating these discussions, but by the middle and end of the year, the kids will pull themselves in circles or say like, hey, Mrs. Hulls, I need to have a circle with so-and-so. And I'm like, get to it. And I usually don't even have to sit back there at all. So it works really, really well. So restorative practices is something that I am really gung-ho about, something I truly believe in, and I think you can do it at any grade level. I really, really do. So that is something that I do that I am all for and highly recommend, and think that you should do as well if you think it's something that would work for you. So there's tons of videos on restorative practices, I'm sure. So let me know if you guys would want a whole video on that, and I could seriously explain it like start to finish, and I would be more than willing to do that. So I said at the beginning of the video that I would talk more about some actual systems that I have in place in my classroom for like rewarding good behavior. So one thing that I do is team points. So I have all of my kids set up at team tables. So I have team 1, team 2, team 3, team 4, team 5. So they're all at a table together, but you could easily group your desks together or whatever you wanted to do if this is something that you were interested in. So I have a little like grid, I guess, on the board where all of the teams are listed, and then they have a spot for points, and then like tally points, and then there's another column on the far side where I can add up their points for the week. So what they do is they basically compete against each other, and whichever team has the most points on Friday will get like a little reward, like I've done in the past where they get like extra star tickets, which I'll talk about in just a second, or I've done where they get like free like a little hot cocoa coupon to use in the room, stuff like that. So that has been one reward that I have done that has worked pretty well, because then if the class starts to get like a little chatty or whatever, I can just look around and see like which team looks like they're the most ready to go, give them a quick point, and then all the kids are like, ooh, somebody just got a point. And so they want a point too. So then they'll do that. That's kind of just like an extra little thing just that I do for fun to reward my kids for making good choices, for being ready to go, for working as a team, because I really want to encourage my students to work as a team as often as possible. I want my kids to have those social skills and be developing those social skills in my class. So I really encourage that teamwork and I reward it. So that's one thing that I do. I do team points. And then I also do star tickets. So how that works is I have a roll of like raffle tickets. I get them off Amazon, and when I see that people are making a great choice, I might just get out the star tickets and hand them out. Now I actually don't do this that much. I like having them around for when there's substitutes in the room though, and for when I have like students from local colleges in the room either observing me or helping out or whatever. I like having them for those people because it's an extra incentive for the kids to do well for an adult that they maybe don't have a relationship with yet, because typically my kids will do a pretty good job for me because we have that relationship in place, and because we have discussed the routines and procedures in our classroom. They know them frontwards and backwards and upside down and all that fun stuff. So typically they do a good job for me, but sometimes when there's like a substitute in the room or there's somebody else in the room, they won't do as great because they just don't have that same relationship with that person, and that's pretty normal. So anyways, I like having those star tickets for those people to hand out, but I want to make sure I use them often enough too so they don't like forget what they are for when I have subs in the room. So I use them for my mystery walkers every day. So when we're going to like specials or we're going to lunch or whatever, I'll choose a student to choose a stick. So I'll just like look at like who's really quiet in line. Oh, Susie's super quiet in line. Susie, come pull a stick for a mystery walker. So she'll pull a stick from our little like popsicle stick tin with everybody's name in it. She'll pull a stick, read the stick, put it back in, and then she'll go to the back of the line and watch that person as we walk to like art, let's say. When we get back from art, I'll say, hey Susie, like, did your mystery walker do a good job, or your mystery student? She'll be like, yes or no. If the person did do a good job, then she will give like a couple hints about the person. Like, this person sits at an odd number team table. This person has dark hair, and then we'll guess like, who do you think it is? And then Susie will announce who it actually is, and that person will get a star ticket. So it's just fun. It doesn't take very long, and it encourages the kids to do a good job walking in the hallway, which is nice. So I do that, and then I've also done mystery students for like big blocks of instructional time. So for example, for like reading, I'll have a couple students choose mystery students for reading time, and then they'll announce at the end if the person does a good job. If the person does not do a good job, is not making wise choices, then the person never gets announced, which at the beginning of the year, I model this. I'm the only one choosing mystery students, and I just don't announce it if the person didn't do a good job. And we just talk about like, you never tell. You never tell. It's just here in your heart. You just never tell it because we don't want to embarrass anybody is what we talk about. And also that kind of is nice because then anybody who maybe didn't do a great job walking to art is like, oop, it was me. It was totally me, and we didn't announce it, but now all of a sudden a lot of people who weren't doing a good job are like, it could have been me. And so it just encourages like everybody to do a good job. So mystery walkers are fun. I used to do that when I student taught in first grade too, and first graders did really well with it. So first, fourth, really feel like you could do it wherever. So with those star tickets that they get, they put their name on the back and then they put them into a little container. On Fridays, I draw a couple of star tickets and they are able to choose a reward. Now it's from a list of rewards that are all nothing that I'm paying for. They're all free rewards. So like eating lunch with the teacher, or bringing in a stuffed animal, or choosing your spot in line for the day, or your seat in the classroom. I try to change them up every so often so the kids don't get bored with them. But yeah, that's what they're choosing from. So it's nothing that I'm paying for. And I would really encourage you, especially if you're a new teacher, don't feel like you need like a treasure box or like a bunch of stickers or anything like that, because really the only tangible rewards that I give out, other than like those certificates that my school gives out, are like hot cocoa. I think that's about it. Like, I don't think I really gave out anything else. So you really don't need to be spending money on your behavior management system. You really, really don't. Make sure that you have everything in place before the beginning of the year. So have all of your behavior management like typed out in a Word document, printed out, and that you've read through it 100 times, so you know like when these things start happening what you're going to do. But I would really encourage you, the relationship is like the biggest piece, the most important piece. And then my last piece of advice is to be trauma informed if you are not already. I think that that is so crucial in the classroom as a teacher. And every single school you go to, you're gonna have some students in trauma. I don't care where you're located, I don't care what type of school, what demographic you teach in, or the school is that you teach in, like you are going to have students in trauma. And it is so critical to be a trauma-informed teacher. And there are so many great books. I will list a couple below. I'll try to remember to link them on Amazon if I can. Help for Billy is my absolute favorite. That one is really, really good. But there's a lot of different ones, and I would really encourage you to study up on that, because how you react to a student in trauma is crucial to how that student is going to do in your classroom and how that student is either going to survive or thrive. And I would really encourage you to find the time to do that research and make sure that that is something that's on your heart and on your mind as you are teaching. And I would love to do a video all about trauma-informed teaching too. I actually went to a conference at the beginning of the summer in St. Louis, and it was hosted by Heather Forbes, who is the author of Help for Billy. So that was pretty cool because I had read the book and did a book study on it. So I would really, really encourage you guys though, like just read a couple articles at least, if nothing else, and maybe stay tuned for that video. If that's something you're interested in, let me know in a comment below. I feel like I'm saying that about everything, but that's okay. If you have any additional questions about behavior management or anything else, please leave them in a comment below. Thank you so much for watching. If you are not already subscribed, I would love for you to join this channel with me, join my journey here as a second-year teacher. It's gonna be so much better than being a first-year teacher, I feel like. So go ahead and press that subscribe button. You can also hit that notification bell to be notified every single time that I upload a new video. Yay! You can follow me on Instagram. I just hit 5,000 subscribers, not subscribers, 5,000 followers this morning. Let me show you. I was super excited. So follow me on Instagram. I'd love to have you there. My dream, LOL, is to get 10,000 so I can do the little swipe up thing on the stories. But yep, that's me for now. Would love to have you join me over there. Shameless self promo. Other than that though, just remember that you guys are incredibly beautiful and you're loved, and I will see you guys next time. Bye guys.